Hello again, and welcome to another episode of Battle Ready.
Ready.
And today, we normally talk about Age of Sigmar, and so today we thought we'd depart just ever so slightly into the wonderful world of Warcry.
Wonderful.
World of Warcry is pretty wonderful. So we had, I'll link it up there. We did an unboxing review of Sundered Fate, which is a reboxing of Sundered Fate, which is the most recent Warcry box that has come out.
As of yet.
Yeah. And looked at all the sprues, looked at some of the cool stuff, and gave it sort of our initial impressions without having played the game. And I think sometimes in this particular hobby, that's all you get.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people look at the box, they open it up, and they say, this is cool, and they move along. And you never get to know, but is it good, actually?
Yes.
Is it actually good? And so this time I thought we would talk a little bit about the painting process, which I'll talk about because I painted up all this stuff. So we'll talk a little bit about the painting process, but also about the game. Is the game good? And that means, are the war brands good? War brands. Are the war bands good? Is the terrain functional and interesting?
Yes.
We're not there yet. We're talking about
okay.
Is the new scenarios, are they fun? And are the forest rules in again? Mm-hmm. So let's talk about painting first. Drake, I'll take care of this one.
Just gonna move off the set.
No. So, the terrain. Let's talk about the terrain first. You have one brand new piece of terrain. That's this bad boy right here. Yeah, it looks like an egg. I think it's supposed to be a big bone thing. It looks like a big little
spine.
But it's got a little tanning thing right there. I think that's sort of cool. All these painted up really easy with contrasts. Basically, all the trees are wildwood. All the bones are skeleton horde, except for this bone. Because skeleton horde tends to look a little bit like the bamboo, and I didn't want the bamboo and the skeleton horde to be so close in color that it looked weird. So I forget what I did for this. Oh, I think I used Army Painter skeleton bone color and then did skeleton horde on top of that. So it wasn't
just
a white. It wasn't over a white. It was over this ivory-ish color. And it still looks like bone, and it does look appreciably different. For the bamboo, I use Agoros Dunes, but I thin it down a lot. I think I use 4 parts medium to 1 part Agoros Dunes. It's either 3 to 1 or 4 to 1. But it's a lot of getting it down, and that gives it a much lighter.
Yeah, it does look lighter.
Flavor to it. So that ends up being pretty cool. The patches on the top painted up real nice, mostly with contrast, or on some of the bigger ones, like this one has a million different little patches. Mm-hmm. I painted those
slightly different.
I have a Vallejo set of skin tones, and I just
skin. Those are scales.
Yep, I just went to town on them.
Skin.
But the cool thing about when I was building these is when we were looking at the sprues, they looked like copies of what we'd gotten in the base game. But it turned out not to be true. These two were copies of the base game, but each included an upgrade sprue. This included, this thing here
and the wall
and the back and an extension, because the one from the base game is about half the size. And then this one included this top part. Right, the base game has these 2 bottom parts. This included the top part and another little.
And this pole.
Yeah, exactly.
That pole never existed.
So that was all really cool.
Yeah.
The war bands also painted up really easy. The skinks were very easy.
Stink.
Basically,
point out every single one. I think
all of them, all the skinks, I just hit with basically 1 coat of contrast. And very good. And then. Highlighted. Sometimes the contrast do a good job of shading most of the time, but they don't always do a good job of highlighting. So I hit the highlights. That's why you can see the lighter green around their heads and stuff. And I painted them different colors based on what kind of thing they were. So the 2 Bolas guys are blue, right? The leader, I don't know if I like this color.
I like the color.
You like it?
He's like,
Is that what that color says to you?
Yes.
So
screaming.
I don't know if I like this color, but I wanted the leader to be a different color. And then all the
Shooter
boys are all green, right?
Yeah, and then the two
that makes
special
it
boys.
easier to tell in the game.
And then the stick boy.
Yeah, he's obviously looks different. Horn guy obviously looks different.
He looks a little similar to me.
But in the game, if I painted them all green, it would have been hard to tell. So separating out the colors, I think, really works well. And because they're skinks, they're little chameleon lizards. Having them be different colors didn't really detract. And then the terror wings were pretty easy. In fact, there's a...
What about the...
Yeah, so I painted orange and then a little bit of a lighter yellowy color inside to give an effect.
Oh, it's on both sides for this guy.
On Warhammer TV, not Warhammer TV, the YouTube channel. The
Warhammer Plus.
Nope, that's the TV thing. So on their YouTube channel, they go over how to paint these. I used basically the same process, little revisions here and there, but they worked out. Super easy. If you're worried about painting at all, easy. These guys weren't hard, but they were a little bit trickier because they have jade masks. So getting something to look like jade and not just green paint was a little bit tricky. And they have a little bit more stuff on them. Like this guy's got this thing, and they all have these...
Here's the obelisk better.
Yeah, they all have these little studs all over their armor. So I had to paint it the tunic color and then go in afterwards and do the armor. A little bit more of a pain in the butt. But overall, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad at all. They turned out fine. So the painting of them, not bad. I wouldn't, if the painting is what you're worried about at all, I think they painted up fairly easily. I think I painted them up relatively quickly, and I used the pictures in the book as the guide. So I mostly painted to the pictures. But if you wanted to do something different, or if you wanted to spend a lot of time and get like spectacular models, you definitely could do so. It's not what I did because I wanted to get this to the table, but I think they turned out well. And I think all these models, when they're built and painted, they look pretty good. They look pretty good. I'm pretty happy with.
I have the high ground, Anakin.
He sure does. So now that we got that out of the way,
lightsaber stick.
Now that we got that out of the way.
Dun, dun, dun.
Playing with the toys. Now that we got that out of the way, what about the game? How is the game? We're going to assume for this review that you've played the base game of 2.0.
Yes.
That you're basically familiar with the rules. So first, the warbands. How are the warbands, Drake? Now, Drake, we've played the game 3 times so far.
Yes,
Drake has played Skinks twice, and
I don't think I've ever played Jade Obelisk.
Yeah, you played them last time, and then I played Obelisk twice and the Skinks once.
Oh yeah.
So
I sort of remember that. Who won the last game with me?
Nah, don't worry about it. Doesn't matter. Who? Probably you. Who? What do you think of the warbands? Since you've played the Skinks more, what do you think of them?
The Skinks are easy. Like they're not quite so complex as some of the other warbands, but they rely on being able to jump over around things.
Yeah. So I was actually really worried about the Skinks when we first saw them because there's 13 of them, which is a lot.
That's a Skinks,
and they're so weak. They are so unbelievably weak. The Terror Wings are their strongest unit, and they get to the level of okay.
They move really fast.
Oh, all right. Okay. But the Skinks, especially the blow dart Skinks,
just hide them.
Oh,
we don't want to see them anymore.
They are weak sauce.
We don't want to see him anymore.
But when we were playing, they were pretty strong.
Yeah.
I mean, you lost a lot of Skinks.
Oh, yeah.
Right? They definitely get eated. But between their speed and their ability to climb and just the sheer number of bodies, they do all right. Yeah. They are a very viable warband.
The trick is to just pepper one guy a billion times.
Yeah, if you can concentrate fire and you just keep peppering. And the other thing that's sort of cool about them is you'd use all your blow dart guys, your weak guys first, and then a couple other guys, and then by the end, your powerful guys are going after the other team has already moved a bunch.
Yeah. They're
out of guys. And so your Terror Wings or your leader or whatever can sort of just go wherever you want them to go, and there's not going to be any reactions. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. The Jade Obelisk, on the other hand, a little bit slower.
Yes.
A little bit more plodding.
Yes.
They
are supposed to represent Tzeentch.
Yeah, well, what's interesting is they do represent Tzeentch, but Tzeentch doesn't usually have slow and plodding, right? That's sort of a Nurgle thing. Yeah. These guys are a little bit of a different take.
Well, no, Tzeentch does plot. He's the Lord of Change.
Plot, not plod.
Oh.
So these guys, a little bit of a different take. I think they're a little on the slow side.
Yes.
But they're way stronger. They do more damage.
They're weakest guys.
They're not crazy damaging, but they do more damage. But they have this interesting mechanic where they've got two, like this girl here is the leader. Get out. Be gone, stink.
No!
This girl here's the leader.
Yeah, that's right. I'm back.
And this guy here is the like the banner bearer. He's got this big obelisk.
I stop you with my banner.
And they each have powers where they can heal people or let people move or do whatever, but it's better if the other one's nearby. Mm-hmm. So like this girl can do something for people within 6 inches, but if this guy's nearby, it'll be within 9 inches.
I thought it was
so you get this sort of dual leadership where you're trying to decide, all right, do I plop them both into my hammer or my shield or whatever so that they can be next to each other from the beginning, but then maybe your hammer's off the board. That's what happened to me one time.
Oh, yeah.
Or do I separate them out knowing that they'll come together at some point or hoping that they come together at some point, but maybe they never do? So you never know. You never know. But they were fun too. I really like them. I think that they're a little bit more straightforward where it's like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go here and I'm going to attack. I'm going to come here and I'm going to defend.
Attack.
What did you think when you played them?
To be honest, I don't.
You don't remember?
No, I don't feel like I played them.
All right. Well, what about the new scenarios and rules and twists and stuff? Not talking about forest rules, just the new scenarios. Anything concerning?
Exactly the same.
Yeah.
They just feel the same. It's just an expansion.
The new scenarios, we played all new scenarios, twists, stuff like that, setups. I didn't notice anything remarkably different other than there was a little bit more complexity because the base game has a lot of like kill these guys or protect these objectives or do these things where they're pretty simple. And so this layered on, it's like, all right, protect these objectives, but they have to be real close. Or, carry this treasure. One of the ones that was pretty fun was one team starts with 3 treasures, but each one takes 5 damage.
No, 15.
What? Was it 15?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't 15. I think it was 5.
It was 10 then.
No. So, but it's some amount of damage, whatever it is. And then the other team has to kill them.
Steal their stuff.
Steal the treasures before they end the game. And it's really fun because you're trying to get the stuff from them. They're slower moving because they're holding treasure, and they're easier to kill because they've had more damage done to them. It was really pretty fun. So there's little extra things like that throughout, but otherwise, it's not a leap above. It's not way different. Like if you like the scenarios from the base game,
like right around there,
I would say even more like that.
Touching?
Basically. If you enjoyed the scenarios from the base game, this is going to be par for the course. This is going to be the same kind of thing. No big surprises. At least not that we saw.
Yeah.
All right, last thing. So they couldn't just give us more. They had to do something different.
Something.
And the something different is the forest rules. Drake, what are the forest rules?
You pick one fighter and they get a little buff.
Yeah, so you get, I think, like 6 or 7 options. Yeah. It's an overwhelming amount of options, really. But you get a lot of different options.
It was overwhelming.
You get a lot of options. And at the beginning of the game, you get to pick one. You could pick to have a random artifact on one of your guys.
Yeah.
You could pick to trap a piece of terrain, and then when an enemy moves next to it, they get damaged.
And if you have a trapper.
You can pick to have a thrall, so you get to add an extra guy into your warband.
You get to try and tame a beast.
I forget what some of the other ones. There's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
What did you feel about it?
Barely mattered.
I don't know if it barely mattered. It mattered a little bit, but it wasn't super fun.
Yeah, I mean, it just felt like more things to remember that barely mattered.
Yeah, it felt like a bolt-on, right? It didn't, like, when they introduced reactions. Very nice. When they introduced reactions.
That was good.
That was really good. It didn't feel like a bolt-on. It felt like it was part of the game. It felt like it was interesting and integrated, and with a very small rule set, opened up a lot of interesting strategy. right? Like reactions are cool. We're always looking to see reactions we can do, right? And it's also not overwhelming because lots of the times you want to move, or attack, and then you don't have to worry about reactions because you already used everything, right?
Yeah.
But with the forest rules, it sort of felt like you're playing the exact same game, except they're like, hey, here's a thing. Go do that extra thing.
Yeah, you get this extra thingy.
And it just wasn't, I mean, it's fine. If you want to use it, if it spices up the game for you, great. But there's already so much variety between the terrain, the setup, the twist, and the mission that you'll never play. You'll never play the same game twice.
Never.
So I didn't think the forest rules were necessary. We played with them just so we could have some experience. I don't think that they meaningfully contributed to the fun. Yeah. I think, in fact, us having to look at them, all 6 options for all 3 games we played, and like try to figure it out, it took up more time than it was worth. Now, obviously, you'd get better at it if you did it all the time, right? You'd memorize them. But it was just like, eh. So I don't think we'll be playing with the force rules going forward. It's just not for us. Great if you want them. But that's the only part of Sundered Fate that I thought was really sort of a miss. I thought terrain, great. Warbands, I think the Skink's super solid. These guys, great. And then
which one's better, super solid or great?
I think the Skinks are funner. I mean, I just think they're funner. Now, that's a little bit down to personal preference, but they play a lot differently than any of the other warbands, with the possible exception of the Spider Tarantulas Brood. The Tarantulas Brood. A little bit of that, but it's also cool to see an order army, right? Instead of more and more chaos.
That's the second order army.
So
the destruction.
These guys were pretty cool. These guys were really cool. These guys were pretty cool. Terrain was great. All the cards and scenarios are great.
Scenarios.
With that in mind, I think that I don't know if Sundered Fate is even still available. Maybe you can still find it from a local game store on a shelf somewhere. But it really has been a pretty big success, I would say. On a thumbs down, thumbs up, Drake, what would you give this as an expansion? Thumb up.
Sort of. Diagonal.
Diagonal? What's the diagonal part?
The forest rules, which are like the big thing.
Yeah.
Really bring it down.
I just think, I completely agree. I think the forest rules were the miss. But I also think, like, if they didn't include those, if they just throw those into the sun, there's no such thing as forest rules.
Into Pluto.
Okay, there's no such thing as forest rules. Then what would you think? And I would give it a thumbs up, right?
Stack thumb.
So
better.
I'm not gonna downgrade it for something I'm basically gonna throw away and never care about.
Yes.
It's like, okay, that was a miss, but it's so inconsequential that it's like if they had messed up reactions. If reactions were a miss, that would be huge for the game. It's like that could mess up the whole game.
Like that, if their reactions got bad.
But with the forest rules being a miss, it's like, who cares? It's not why I bought the game. It's not why I bought Sundered Fate. Not a big deal. So overall, if you are a fan of Warcry, if this is something that you're interested in, Sundered Fate for 2.0 is a hit. I would definitely see if you can look into it, especially if you want the warbands and the terrain. Obviously, if you only want the Skinks, or you only want the warband, or you just want both warbands and not the terrain, then maybe not getting the box, right? You don't need to do that. Maybe you just buy the things you want. But if you want to see Warcry expanded and you want more warbands, you could do a lot worse than this. Sundered Fate has been pretty good, and I'm looking forward to. Do you know the next box?
Bloodied Hunt.
Yeah, basic Blood Hunt. Yes, close enough. Close enough, my boy. Well, do you have anything you want to add? Any final thoughts?
I'm gonna try to interpret this guy's face.
Show the camera. Yeah, that's what that skink looks like. All right. Well,
that's my final thought.
This has been another episode of Battle Ready. Thanks so much for watching.